Hare Krishna. India Heritage
Hare
Foundation,
Krishna.
London extends a very warm welcome to every one of you for today's session. Let us begin by invoking blessings of Srila Prabhupada and their lordships. Please join me as I offer these prayers. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Karine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we have a special Vaishnava bhajan composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and this bhajan, it exemplifies the mood of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava, he values very, very dearly the association of other advanced, pure Vaishnavas, which means a devotee must be very, very eager to associate and live in the association of advanced Vaishnavas. And that is a very, very favorable situation that can help us to accelerate our progress in Krishna consciousness. This value, this important aspect of our progress is being emphasized by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in this bhajan. Please hear attentively, and we have Jyoti Ranjan and Dhira Govinda Prabhu, who will be singing this Vaishnava bhajan and taking us through this beautiful composition by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Over to you, Jyoti Ranjan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yep, let's start. Kabhi Sri Chaitanya Mure Karibe Nadaya Kabhi Sri Chaitanya Kabhi Sri Chaitanya Mure Karibe Nadaya Kabhi কবে আমি পাইব বৈষ্ণব পদ ছায়া কবে আমি পাইব বৈষ্ণব পদ ছায়া কবে আমি ছাড়িব বিষয় অভিমান তবে আমি ছাড়িব বিষয় অভিমান কবে বিষ্ণু জানে আমি করিব সম্মান কবে বিষ্ণু জানে আমি করিব সম্মান জলবস্ত্র পীতাঞ্জলি वैष्णवानी काटे वैष्णवानी काटे संते पीना करी ददा इबानी सकपटे संते पीना कभी श्री चैतन्य करीबे नाराया कभी श्री चैतन्य करीबे नाराया कबे আমি পাইবা বৈষ্ণব পদ ছায়া কবে আমি পাইবা বৈষ্ণব পদ ছায়া কড়িয়া কড়িয়া কিবা দুঃখ গ্রাম কড়িয়া ಸಂಸಾರ ಆಳಾಲ ಐತೆ ಮಗಿಬ ವಿಶ್ರಾಮ ಸಂಸಾರ ಆಳಾಲ ಐತೆ ಮಗಿಬ ವಿಶ್ರಾಮ दुनिया हमारा दुख वैष्णव ठाकुरा दुनिया हमारा दुख वैष्णव ठाकुरा हम लगी कृष्णा वे शिवेना प्रचुरा वैष्णवेरा कृष्ण दया माया वैष्णवेरा कृष्ण दया इहेना पामर प्रति अबेन सदाया इहेना पामर प्रति अबेन सदाया कभी किसे हरि बेना दाया कभी श्री कबे আমি পাইবা বৈষ্ণব পদ ছায়া कृपा करी संगे लहा किया किंचाने कृपा करी संगे लहा किया किंचाने कभी चैतन्य करीबे न दया करे कबे आमी पाइबा वैष्णव पद छाया कबे वैष्णव पद छाया जय भक्ति विनोद प्रभु पदा जय भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर प्रभु पदा जय भक्ति विनोद प्रभु पदा जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय निताई गौरंग जय निताई गौरंग निताई गौरंग जय निताई गौरंग जय निताई गौरंग जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय
Thank you very much, Jyotiranjan and Virgovind Prabhu, for that wonderful seva, wonderful Kirtan seva. That was Kabe Shri Chaitanya Daya Koro More by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Let's now. Yes, I think this should be visible now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 2, entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized, verse number 20. Na jayate mriyate va न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्य शाश्वतो यं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्य शाश्वतो यं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्य शाश्वतो यं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. Anybody would like to try?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, shall I try?
Yes, Mataji, please.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नान्यं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यं शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
Thank you, Mataji. Anybody else?
Can I attempt, please?
Yes, Dr. Yashwant, please go ahead.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् न्याय्यं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो nityah sasvatoya purano na hanyate hanmane sharire.
Thank you. Anybody else, please?
I can try, Prabhu.
Yes, Dilip, go ahead.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्नायं भूत्वा भविता न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
Thank you. Synonyms. Na, never. Jayate takes birth. Mriyate never dies. Va, either. Kadachit, at any time, past, present, or future. Na, never. Ayam, this. Bhutva, came into being. Bhavita, will come to be. Va, or. Na, not. Bhuyaha, or has come to be. Ajaha, unborn. Nityaha, eternal. Shashvataha, permanent. Ayam, this. Puranaha, the oldest. Na, never. Hanyate is killed. Hanyamane, being killed. Sharire, by the body. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. For the soul, there is never birth nor death. Nor having once been, does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Qualitatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. He undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called the steady or kutastha. The body is subject to 6 kinds of transformations. It takes its birth in the womb of the mother's body, remains for some time, grows, produces some effects, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into oblivion. The soul, however, does not go through such changes. The soul is not born, but because he takes on a material body, the body takes its birth. The soul does not take birth there, and the soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death. And because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, present, or future. He is eternal, ever existing, and primeval. That is, there is no trace in history of his coming into being. Under the impression of the body, we seek the history of the birth, etc., of the soul. The soul does not at any time become old as the body does. The so called old man therefore feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. The changes of the body do not affect the soul. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree, nor anything material. The soul has no byproduct either. The byproducts of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls. And owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. The body develops because of the soul's presence, but the soul has neither offshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from the 6 changes of the body. In the Katha Upanishad, also we find a similar passage which reads, Na jayate mriyate va vipaschin, nayam kutaschin na vibhuva kaschit, ajo nitya shashvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamane sharire. The meaning and import of this verse is the same as in the Bhagavad Gita. But here in this verse, there is one special word, vipaschit, which means learned or with knowledge. The soul is full of knowledge or full always with consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is a symptom of the soul. Even if one does not find the soul within the heart where he is situated, one can still understand the presence of the soul simply by the presence of consciousness. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds or for some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there. And we are convinced that it is therefore daytime. As soon as there is a little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether man or animal, we can understand the presence of the soul. This consciousness of the soul is, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme, because the Supreme Consciousness is all knowledge, past, present, and future. The consciousness of the individual soul is prone to be forgetful. When he is forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education and enlightenment from the superior lessons of Krishna. But Krishna is not like the forgetful soul. If so, Krishna's teachings of Bhagavad Gita would be useless. There are two kinds of souls, namely the minute particle soul, Anu Atma, and the super soul, the Vibhu Atma. This is also confirmed in the Katha Upanishad in this way. Anor Anyan, Mahato Mahiyan, Atmasya Janto, Nihito Guhayam, Tam Akratu Pashyati, Vita Shoko, Dhatu Prasadan Mahimanam Atmanaha. Translation: both the super soul, Paramatma, and the atomic soul, Jivatma, are situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being. And only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters. And Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. That's hence the Bhaktivedanta purport. Bhaya, fear. So long he exists in the duality of material consciousness. Or in other words, unless one comes to the platform of Krishna consciousness, one cannot become free from bhaya, fear. Just some days back, here in north of London, there was a story carried by the BBC of a elderly pensioner aged about 80 years who was living in Cricklewood. And he was a retired ballet dance teacher. And all of a sudden, one day he sees that the Metropolitan Police, they raided his home. And he was shocked to see all these people inside. And they pushed him to the floor. They tasered him. And they handcuffed. And he had an underlying heart condition. And he was shocked and in complete disbelief on what was going on and what he had done. They said that you're under arrest. But for what he was arrested, he never knew and they never told. And later on, as the reporter reached out and he's sharing his experience of what went through, let us just hear a few words before we proceed from Roy.
What did they say to you when they spoke to you and told you why you were there?
We're looking for a black man who's 6 foot tall with a gun. I'm an 80-year-old white Englishman. I'm 5'8", 10.5 stone. Do I look like that? 3 weeks ago, I was, a grounded, reasonably healthy pensioner, enjoying his retirement. Now I'm just, mentally I'm a wreck, really, because I just feel insecure and depressed. I felt suicidal.
That was a statement from Roy Morton. With what he just underwent, He's feeling wrecked, depressed, insecure, and suicidal. Very sad and very unfortunate. Nobody should undergo this kind of an experience for no fault of theirs. And I hope the investigation which the Metropolitan Police has committed to will bring more light on this matter, and corrective steps will be taken so that nobody else has to undergo this experience. Having said that, it is important for us to also take some lessons from this episode. What Roy Morton experienced was completely unexpected and out of the blue, and it really shook him up. So much so that it made him feel suicidal with what he underwent at this point in his life. In order to prepare ourselves, because the world is always full of surprises, the world is always full of unexpected, unpredictable incidents happening. Padam padam yat vipadam na tesham. This is the nature of this material world. Every step there is danger. Every step there is danger. We may make great arrangements for our defense and our security, but in a moment's time, all of that fort that we build around us will be destroyed. That's the nature of this material world. So here, when a devotee makes progress in Krishna consciousness, he comes to a point wherein he is prepared to face any amount of setbacks that may come his way without being disturbed. So we wish to attain that state where we can remain peaceful, where we can remain disturbed. Nobody wants to undergo Roy Morton's state of mind. Nobody wants to feel suicidal. Nobody wants to feel depressed. Nobody wants to feel insecure. And that too, at this point in a retired pensioner, at 80-year-old, they should be protected and feeling secure. So while we may make our while we hope that the society is in order to take care of citizens in the right way and such incidents don't repeat, but a devotee prepares himself for the worst of all situations that can unfold, and that is by making progress in his Krishna consciousness. When a person is able to realize the teachings of Lord Bhagavad Gita, like the one that we discussed today, where Krishna is saying, "Na hanyate hanyamane sharire, na jayate mriyate va kadachin, nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha, ajo nitya shashvato yam purano, na hanyate hanyamane sharire." Just see how clearly Krishna is bringing about the different characteristics of the soul versus the body. And he's saying, "Na hanyate hanyamane sharire," which means the na hanyate, the soul is never destroyed. Na hanyamane sharire. When the body is destroyed, the soul is not destroyed. The soul is ajaha, it is unborn, it is eternal. Ajo nitya, nitya, shashvataha, permanent. Ayam puranaha, primeval. Nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. One can never trace out the time when the soul came into being. He continues to exist as he is. There is no destruction. There is no degradation of this. The spirit soul can never be slain. The body can be, the mortal body can be destroyed, but the soul can never be destroyed. When somebody is situated in this consciousness that I will never die, I will live forever, it is only my body which perishes. When somebody is situated, one must have realization of this understanding. When one is situated on this platform of understanding. He will never be fearful of any situation that may come his way. He will not, because he knows, after all, this is only my body. Body may perish. With birth, death is already accompanying. When we say I am 40-year-old, that means 40 years you have already died. 40 years you have already died. Suppose you were supposed to live for, as per one's destiny, one is supposed to live for 80 years and you are now 40 years old. That means 40 years you're already dead. So a person who is pursuing the teachings of Gita, a sadhaka in Krishna consciousness, he remains, by his practice and advancement in Krishna consciousness, he remains secure in the understanding that there is nothing, no incident, no calamity, no disaster which can bring an end to him, because I will continue to exist even after this body is destroyed. That brings this understanding, amongst many other realizations, brings an enormous amount of courage, enormous. It brings in the state of abhayam. Abhayam means fearlessness. Currently, coronavirus pandemic is going on. Tomorrow, something else may come. So many things can unfold, and in a moment, the nature of this material world is that any calamity can strike. So when a devotee has sufficiently prepared himself and is situated in Krishna consciousness, in pure Krishna consciousness, he remains unaffected. And what is the state that he achieves? And this is the state which Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter. He says, Yasmin stitho na dukkena gurunapi vichalyate. It is said, Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tataha. Yam labdva. When one has attained this state of Krishna consciousness, when he has had this understanding of his eternal being, of his eternal life, a life which is filled with true understanding of one's existence, of the Supreme Lord's existence, of one's relationship with the Supreme Lord. When one has this realization, it is said, Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tataha. A person in that state of consciousness, he thinks there is nothing more to achieve for me, because I've already achieved the highest. There is a deep sense of contentment in that person. He is no longer hankering for anything in this world. He is no longer hankering for any possessions. He is no longer hankering for any material relationships. He is no longer hankering for some fame, from wealth, because he, having attained this, the platform of pure Krishna consciousness, he's experiencing great satisfaction. Great satisfaction. A person who has eaten and has completely satisfied his hunger, even if you offer him the best of dishes, he will say, no, I cannot eat anymore. Why? Because already my hunger is satisfied. Now I don't want any of these things. I'm already full. Triptosmi. That is the state. So Krishna is saying, Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tataha. Nadikam tataha. There is nothing more greater to be gained, because I have attained pure Krishna consciousness. And then in that state, Krishna is saying, Yasmin stitho na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. Gurunapi vichalyate means even in the state of greatest calamity that may strike one, any calamitous condition that can come in our life, the devotee of the Lord, because of being situated in a transcendental consciousness, in pure Krishna consciousness, he remains yasmin stitho na dukkhena. He remains undisturbed. He remains undisturbed. This is the meaning of being dhira. Dhiras tattarna muhyati. Krishna is saying, One has to be sober. One should not be disturbed. So Krishna is saying, this is in the second chapter, in the 13th verse, Krishna is saying, Dehino asmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatrana muhyati. He's saying dhiras tatrana muhyati. One who is a dhira is not bewildered because he is able to appreciate the phenomena called death. What is this death? It is a change, it's a movement of the soul from one body to another body. The body is perishing, but the person who is residing in the body, he does not perish. He is moving. It's like we move from one house to another house. Or we change. Today I'm wearing one dress, tomorrow I will change into another dress. But the person who is changing the dress is the same. He does not change. Dress is changing. House is changing. It is just like that. The body is changing. So a person who has this vision, he is not very much disturbed. He is not bewildered by what is happening. A person who is not situated on this platform, they will lament. Unnecessarily, they will lament. And because of this lamentation, they experience great pain, great separation, and they're unconsolable. So we see long ago, there was one king by name Chitraketu. This Chitraketu had many queens, but unfortunately, and he was the emperor of the world, and he had all opulences at his command. He had all military strength at his command. He was unconquerable. So he was on top of the world, most powerful person, and he had all wealth at his disposal, and he had many beautiful queens. But unfortunately, he did not have a child, and because he did not have a child, he was very, very disturbed. He thought he was very anxious that how will the dynasty continue, and who is after me? And there are many who will offer the tarpana, the oblations to the forefathers. And these were all his anxieties, and he was unconsolable. He was very, very depressed. He was very disturbed. And once, by his good fortune, he happened to receive Angira Muni. Angira Muni is a great devotee of the Lord. He is an associate of Narada Muni. And Angira Muni had come to his palace. And this king, Chitraketu Maharaj, had the good fortune of receiving Angira Muni. And he very nicely took care of Sadhu by, as Angira Muni had come to his palace, so he washed his feet, he offered him, he's the emperor of the world, but he knew the position of the devotee of the Lord, and he was very humble, and he bowed down and paid his Dandavat Pranam to Angira Muni, and offered him all the due respects as a great devotee of the Lord. And Angira Muni was very much pleased with Chitraketu Maharaj, and he asked him about his well-being, and then he shared with him what he was actually missing in his life and what was bothering him. So taking compassion upon the king and being very pleased with his humble attitude and his very nice hospitality, Angira Muni blessed him. He performed a yajna, and the yajna shishta, the prasada, he offered to the king and told him that by accepting this prasada, you will have a son, and that son will be the cause of both joy and sorrow in your life. He said this, and he left. The king was thrilled that the problem that was bothering him for such a long time is going to be sorted out. And so he gave that Yagnashishta and the prasada to his wife Kritadyuti. So Queen Kritadyuti, she accepted that prasada, and in due course time, she became she pregnant, and she gave birth to a boy. And as the king got the news of his son being born, his joy knew no bounds. He was so happy. There was celebrations everywhere in the kingdom, and he became very, very affectionate to this queen through whom he got a son. And and he was very absorbed in showering his love and affection on this queen and her and their son. And as a result of this, because there were many other queens of the king, and since ever since this son was born to Kritadyuti, all the other queens in the palace, they became envious, because they the king's attention was completely towards Kritadyuti and her son, and because they all couldn't beget children, they felt very envious of Kritadyuti's good fortune that she had a son and she's getting all the love and affection of their husband. So, unfortunately, due to their weakness, because they were envious, they poisoned that child, and that boy died. And when the king came to know of this, that his son had died, the king was very, very morose, depressed, and he was. It was very pathetic for anybody in the palace to see his state of consciousness. He was so depressed. Uh, and this news reached Angira Muni that this king has become extremely depressed, and maybe he will end his life, looking at the way that he is lamenting. So, taking compassion, Angira Muni and Narad Muni, they came to the king's palace. And there, Narada Muni, he, by his mystic powers, he called upon that Jiva who had left his body to come to the body, come inside the body. And then he addressed that boy. So, oh living entity, why have you left this body and gone? And that dead child came back to life, and that child began to speak. Uh, Narad Muni asked him, why have you given up this body and caused grief to Chitraketu Maharaj and your mother? Then that boy replied, which father and mother are you talking about, my dear sage? I have had so many births, and in this particular body, I was destined to live for this much period of time, and the time is over. And so, therefore, by the divine arrangement of the Supreme Lord, I'm now moving on to another body. I do not know which father and mother are you talking about. I have had in every life, in every birth, I have had so many father and mother. And that boy begins to explain about how the soul is actually eternal and unborn, and the body is temporary. And he says, just like when an animal is being traded, when the animal is, suppose you have a donkey with you, or you have a horse with you. So when it is with you, there is ownership. This is my horse. When you sell that horse to some other owner, you are no longer interested in that horse. And the owner who gets that horse, now he thinks this is my horse. So like this, this boy was saying that the living entity is constantly migrating from one body to another body. And when he's in one particular body, he's thinking, in that body, this is my father, this is my brother, this is my wife, this is my children. And then he quits the body, goes into another body, again in our next body, again somebody else, father and mother. And he's saying this whole arrangement of family is something like this. In a flowing river, there are sometimes uh, these grass or this straw, which are a bunch of them sometimes are together and they're flowing. And suddenly one wave comes and it separates all that uh, straws, and they move away, and they come together with some other grass, and they form a bunch and they're flowing together. And then again there is some wave comes, disturbs that arrangement, and those grass is again on its own and finds some other bunch of grass. So like that, the and elsewhere the acharyas explain about how, suppose you go to a hotel, uh, restaurant, and you are having your meal, and somebody else also comes and sits along. Till that time that you have the meal, everybody is together. After the meal is over, they're on their own, you're on your own. So we are thinking, for this brief period in our life, we come together with some people and we think, oh, this is my father, this is my mother, this is my brother, this is my son, this is all temporary. Again, one more family will be there in next life. Again, one more family. Even before this family, also I had one more family, and this is going on. This is not my eternal family, and my eternal father and mother are the supreme Lord. So, who is speaking all this? This is being spoken by this boy who was dead. And hearing these words of this boy, this dead boy who was brought back to life by Narada Muni, these are all pastimes from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Chitraketu Maharaj and all the queens, they become enlightened. They become actually shocked to see all this. He had no child. You can see the kind of roller coaster experience that this king must have gone through. He had no child. He was lamenting. He had child. He was on top of the world, and then this child is almost about to die. Then this dead child has come back, and this dead child is giving philosophy and preaching, and it. But after hearing these words, of course, this was the blessing of Narad Muni and Angira Muni on Chitraketu Maharaj and his queens, that they come out of this bodily concept of life. They come out of this material attachment, and they got this jiva to speak the uh, this philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. And having heard this message from this boy, this king began to understand that how he was absorbed in a body. He was in such a bodily concept of life, and he was able to overcome his lamentation. And then after that, the queens who were instrumental in giving poison, they were very, very ashamed of their conduct. They also did not have any further desire to beget any children, and they retired. They all took up vanaprastha life and devoted themselves in the path of devotion service to Lord Krishna. So, like this, we see by the blessings of a pure devotee, one can be cured from this madness of material identification. So long one is in this bodily concept. What is this bodily concept? Bodily concept means thinking, I am this body and this is my family. I am a part of this world. They are their bodies. And we think this is all eternal reality. So a person, unless he is blessed and he's got an he's got an opportunity to associate with uh, a Vaishnava, which is why in today we heard our devotees very wonderfully talking about how it is so important to have the association of Vaishnava, because the moment we come in the association of Vaishnavas, and even better if one can live in the association of Vaishnavas, then very quickly one can become freed from all our misconceptions. Just like this Maharaj Chitraketu, he had got so many misconceptions, and and you can just imagine, was there any peace in his life? When sun was not there, he is crying. When sun is there, he is joyful. Then again crying. It's a crazy experience that he's going through. There is no steadiness. There is no peace of mind. So elsewhere, we come across another very exalted devotee. He was an incarnation of Narad Muni, and he was a very close associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and his name was Srivas Thakur. So we sing, before we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, we sing his name. We chant his name. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivas. Who is this Srivas? Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. This Srivas Thakur. It's wonderful to reflect into his life. Once he was elderly to almost of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father's age, Srivas Thakur. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to, this is in West Bengal, in Nadia district, in Mayapur, where Srivas Thakur was residing, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father, Jagannath Mishra, and Sachi Mata, they were residing. They were all neighbors, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born in Mayapur, and Srivas Thakur knew Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from the very beginning that this child is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was advented. He knew the position and the characteristic of this special child, that he was non-different from the Supreme Lord. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to conduct Sankirtana in the house of Srivas Thakur. Even today, we can go to his house in Mayapur. It's called as Srivas Angan, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to conduct Sankirtana, and he would perform Sankirtana throughout the whole night in Srivas Thakur's house. And Srivas Thakur also used to facilitate and used to participate and used to be so joyful, so glad that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, they're all coming to his home and performing Sankirtana. One night, what happened? Srivas Thakur had one son, and only one son. That son, due to some disease, he passed away, he died. So the family members, especially women in the household, they were so grief-stricken. They were only son, and you can just imagine what must be the condition. And he had some illness, and suddenly he passed away. And they were crying and they're weeping, and Sankirtana is going on in the house. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, they're chanting Hare Krishna mantra, they're dancing, and here inside the house, there is a tragedy. So Srivas Thakur, he went and told all his family members, his wife, he told them that please remain silent. Let us not bring this news to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let us not disturb this Harinam Sankirtan. Let it go on. And when it completes, let us see. Please do not make any noise. Please do not disturb. I will not accept this. So he gave more importance to, there is a death in the family. His son has died. And Srivas Thakur, look at his consciousness. He is not disturbed. And he wants to continue the Lord to perform Sankirtana. He wants to engage in the Lord's service first, and then later on attend to other duties in the house. And what duty is for son's death? And that is also not important for Sankirtana should happen. Sankirtana should not be disturbed. This is Srivas Thakur's consciousness. And then Sankirtan went on, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after some time, he is Supreme Lord. He is fully cognizant of what is happening in the house with his devotees who are engaged in his service. He is fully cognizant. He said, I somehow get a feeling that something is not all right in this house. And then somebody told him, actually, yes, Mahaprabhu, Srivas Thakur's only son, he passed away. Oh, then he was very, very regretful. He said, why didn't you tell me this? Such a tragedy has happened in the house. Why nobody told me this? Srivas Thakur, what is this? Why have you not told me? And then he went to see, he went inside Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he touched the body of the boy, and mystically the boy came back to life. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, so why have you left the house of Srivas Thakur? And then the boy said that I was destined to stay in this body for a certain period of time as sanctioned by you. And then now that the period has completed and I was in this birth, I got an opportunity to be in the household of a pure devotee of your lordship. I have attained a great benefit, and now as per your order, as per your arrangement, I have to move to next body, whatever is sanctioned by you. And that boy begins to talk about how uh, uh, these bodies are our residence in a particular body is temporary, and how we have been constantly changing. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Krishna is saying in this verse, Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Even if the body is destroyed, the soul remains without any destruction. The soul is eternal. And this boy, and they were also enlightened by these words spoken by this boy, uh, and they were able to give up all their grief and lamentation. And at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Srivas Thakur, you have lost your one son, but myself and Nityananda Prabhu will always remain your eternal sons. So here we can see how a devotee is, when he gets into when he makes advancement in this process of devotion service in bhakti yoga, he enters into an eternal relationship with the Lord. Eternal. Our so many material relations, they will come and they will go. We are very delighted when they come in our life, and when they go from our life, we are heartbroken. But when you enter into a relationship with the Supreme Lord, this relationship with the Supreme Lord is so sweet, so transcendental. It is our heart craving that we want to remain in relationships which never end, which never turn sour, which are always sweet. And we hope that this sweetness will go on increasing more and more and more. We wish our relationships will be more and more intimate, more and more joyful. This is our craving. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you have lost your one son, but myself and Nityananda Prabhu are your eternal son always. We are always your eternal son, which means they acknowledged Srivas Thakur's devotion services, and they guaranteed him that they will always remain with him, and they will. So this is a devotee's aspiration, how to establish, because each one of us have an eternal loving relationship with Krishna, and the whole purpose of the sadhana bhakti, the practice of Krishna consciousness, is how to revive that relationship, and enter into eternal relationship, eternal pastimes with the Supreme Lord. And these relationships will never be destroyed, because these are spiritual relationships. Just as we are eternal, this relationship with the Supreme Lord is also eternal. And to be situated in this position is a perfection of our life, to enter into, to awaken our dormant love for Krishna and to engage in his loving services. So these are some reflections on this very, very important verse from the second chapter. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Even though the body is destroyed, the soul is never destroyed. Why? Because ajo nitya shashvato yam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Because the soul is unborn, ajaha, nityaha is eternal. So with this, we will close for today, and uh, let us now recall some uh, wonderful attributes, qualities, and narration of our beloved Srila Prabhupada, who is very kindly helping us to re-establish our lost relationship with the Supreme Lord. So I request Dhira Govinda Prabhu to uh, help us uh, connect with some pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. Over to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. So this is a beautiful pastime by how Srila Prabhupada's, when Srila Prabhupada was there, and as of now he's there, how Yogamaya is influencing within the devotee circle. And sometimes devotees take it that as themselves they are doers. Actually, Srila Prabhupada's energies are working. So here Srila Prabhupada also teaches about how devotees should understand that they are not the doers, they are actually Srila Prabhupada's, in the part of mission Yogamaya, Krishna's energy is working. So this is about, it's a description given by, from remembering Srila Prabhupada by His Grace Harivilas Prabhu. He joined in 1968 in New York, wonderful devotee. So Harivilas Prabhu was explaining that, in 1970, he was sent to Paris to become a temple president. And there was nothing, that time Prabhupada used to send devotees, go here and there to start the temple. So they came all the way to Paris and they wanted to start. They really trying hard. And Shyamsundar Prabhu from US, he called saying that Prabhupada would like to reach you. We heard that you have started a temple, new temple. Prabhupada would like to visit. So do something, do big, such that Prabhupada become happy. Now they didn't know Harivilas Prabhu what to do. So Harivilas Prabhu suddenly he thought about Beatles group. So he called up Patty Marconi. He's the agent of Apple Records in France. So they called him. They saying that I'm the new agent from the Beatles. So John, Ringo, we have George. All of them are coming for the to see their guru in France, Paris. So they were all surprised. Oh, so what do you want me to do? So we'd like that time the biggest theater was the Olympia Theater within the Paris. So we would like to have that Paris, the theater. So they suddenly rang to the theater president. So he agreed. Okay, what do you want? You would like? We would like to have this theater. They said, okay, get it. So they got the biggest theater in Paris, and they started organizing things. And Prabhupada went to Moscow. From Moscow, he came to Paris. So before Prabhupada arrived, so actually they were in such a difficult situation. They didn't have enough money. They didn't have car to bring Prabhupada. They didn't have flowers. They didn't have resources. So they were thinking what to do. That day, Prabhupada is supposed to arrive. The early morning, Prabhu Harivilas Prabhu, he wakes up in the morning, the entire night he couldn't sleep. I don't have money. What to do? And he comes to the main temple hall there, So Gaur Nitai is there, and Prabhupada, all photos, pictures are there. So they pay obeisances. He pays obeisances in the morning, 2:30. He was tense. The time he sees a white color, a pouch, a bag, a kind of thing. It's lying on the floor. So, oh, what is this? A kind of envelope. So immediately sees inside, and it's full of currency, new currencies. So around 4,000 francs. It's like $1,000. Like he says that I never seen so much of money in my lifetime. He was surprised. Who has dropped this? Because if he says to somebody saying that, okay, I got money, whose money? So somebody will say, yes, it's my money. So he thought, okay, I'll keep it with myself till morning 11 o'clock. If nobody asks this money, I'm going to spend every cent of it for Prabhupada's mission. So till 11 o'clock, he saw in the morning, nobody came. So the resources automatically came, and it was something surprising. Even today, he's surprised how that money came. So then he started buying, things, making it ready. Prabhupada is coming next few hours, he's making it ready. Then Prabhupada finally arrives to the airport, and because Prabhupada didn't have the next ticket, so airport, they were not allowing him to come inside of France. They said, no, you're not allowed, you're supposed to stay here, we'll not be able to allow. So they were confused, and Prabhupada somehow convinces them. By the time, temple president, Harivilas Prabhu and Shamsundar Prabhu, they go to buy ticket. So by the get convinces and all airport authorities that 24 hours you have, you can go out. So he takes permission for 24 hours. He comes out to the airport directly. He goes to the Indian embassy. So in the embassy, he is staying there. So finally, Harivilas Prabhu and Shamsundar Prabhu, they all come there. By the time, already group of devotees, they're all there in the embassy. So when Shamsundar Prabhu arrives, and Harivilas Prabhu is there, and one more devotee was there. So he directly walks in, Harivilas Prabhu inside. So at that time, there's one Lochandas devotee. He's explaining, giving, introduction about all the devotees about to Prabhupada. He is so, she is so, like this. So and Harivilas Prabhu says, okay, I'm temple president now, I'll go inside. So he, all the devotees, he made him, went inside, and after reaching there, then he was waiting. So somebody will say that he is temple president. So Lochandas Prabhu, who's there, he explained, he is so, like this. He is explaining, he is acknowledging each and everyone. And there is one devotee who, Harivilas Prabhu, when he was entering, there was one devotee who was there with him. So he, barged in, came inside. So that devotee, Lochandas Prabhupada, see that devotee, his name is Ganashyam. He is the one who is translating in the French all your books, he is working on. So Prabhupada's so happy, and Prabhupada, he, he folds his hand, says that, thank you so much. This is a wonderful work you're doing, translating this into the French, like this, So then Harivilas Prabhu realizes, oh my God, this devotee was there next to me. I didn't go, just wanted to come inside. I made him stand, and I went inside, and he got acknowledged. So finally, after some time, after a few devotees, then Lochandas said, Prabhupada, here is our president, Harivilas Prabhu, like this. So Harivilas Prabhu says, Hare Krishna, pay obeisances. Then so Prabhupada sees his natural looks. So where is your temple? So I heard it's a new temple. Yes, Prabhupada, it's nearby. So nearby. So Prabhupada sees it, and Prabhupada asks, how much time it will take to reach in the car? So he never thought these kind of questions will come from Prabhupada. So then he says, maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. Then Prabhupada asks second question, how much time it will take to reach in the train? So Prabhupada again, Harivilas Prabhu sees and says, maybe more than 1 hour, Prabhupada. So in that sense, that is not near, it's too far. So that moment, Harivilas Prabhu, he told, it's very nearby. So he realized, oh my God, he is my guru. He is pointing out my imperfections within my mind, trying to prove that I'm wrong. So he realized many things, actually I did wrong. I saw Krishna's mercy. So Prabhupada had this beautiful way of teaching every individual devotee in the same, in one sentence, he could teach all devotees in different angles. So that's the beauty of Prabhupada. So this way we can actually learn many things from Prabhupada in this memories. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for that wonderful narration of Prabhupada's visit to France and his interactions with the devotees. So with that, let's all chant 108 times the Hare Krishna mantra. Let us join Srila Prabhupada in chanting this Hare Krishna mantra. Let me share the screen with all of you, and let's in sync with Prabhupada chant.
Hare Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Radha Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. So that was 108 times the chanting of the holy names. If there are any questions, any comments, please feel free to share. Yes, Isha, you have a question? Go ahead.
Prabhuji, first of all, thanks a lot for giving such a insightful talk. And I mean,
Thank
the
you.
stories, whatever you shared, were really interesting, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I do have a couple of queries. Let me start with my first one. Prabhuji, I definitely agree to your point that, yes, I mean, being Krishna conscious will definitely take out the fear from us. We'll become fearless.
Yes.
And of course, and also it will give the highest ecstasy. Right? I mean, you don't need anything else when you are you're really Krishna conscious. But Prabhuji, the question I have is, like, I mean, say like if a person has become fully Krishna conscious, then would he be really able to do his duties and responsibilities in the material life properly? Because when you have been given the highest ecstasy, the sweetest fruit of all, then definitely will not have interest towards this material things. Like say for example, if a person is working in a company, definitely he has to have a fear of his job security or performing well, because unless he performs well, he cannot serve his livelihood, right? So I mean, like, how do we balance that? Like, would Krishna automatically give that balancing act in us, or how is it? That is my first question. I do have other two. I will come back to you later after others.
Yeah. So I think this is when I had shared this with you previously also, that even though a devotee may make advancement in his Krishna consciousness and may be very mature in transcendental knowledge, in detachment, he does not fall short of completing his duties that is expected of him. So in this regard, it is helpful to understand the way the acharyas have explained that when there is some drama performance, the people who are actors on the stage, at that point on the stage, they're assuming a particular relationship with each other. Somebody is a king, somebody is a queen, or somebody is police, somebody is a thief. So they all are playing a particular part, and they are very attentive to play that part. The person who is playing the role of a king, he will unless he thinks that he is a king, like in theater they say, if an actor can completely identify himself with that role, then very naturally his expression, his talk, his tone, everything will naturally come. He has to be fully absorbed in that role. So every one of them, the artists who are performing a particular role, they identify with their roles on the stage. Somebody as a king, and they play that role very well. But at the same time, they know that that relationship on the stage is a drama. It is not my real life. In my real life, I have my family, I have my wife, I have my children, I have my side business, I have so many things. That is my real life. This is only a drama. So in that drama, although they know it's a drama, but they do their part very nicely, because you have to win the audience, you have to grow even in the drama. So you have to be very, all these actors and actresses, they put in so much of hard work. Although it is a drama, it is not a real life. So like that, although a devotee has all these higher realizations, he's got transcendental knowledge, but when he's playing his material duties, he does not neglect them. He attends, he pays attention. Suppose I have a job to keep, I have a family to take care, I have dependents on me, and I have to attend to their comforts, maintain them. So for all of that, he attends to all these duties. He relates with his wife with affection, with children, with his parents, or likewise with all his with his colleagues, with his boss, as is expected. But at the same time, while he is in the midst of discharging his duties, he is not thinking this is my eternal wife, or this is my eternal son, or this is my eternal boss. I have to play. This is a role play. I have to. I'm part of all this drama. That is, so I have to perform my duties, and I will do well. But at the same time, my heart is detached. I am thinking of how I can make progress in my journey towards Krishna, in my awakening my relationship with Krishna, how I can develop, how I can make progress in chanting the holy names very nicely, following the sadhana bhakti given by the spiritual master very nicely, because these are all uh, uh, my constitutional duties. These are my, and I'm very attentive to these things, even though I have many other things to discharge. So like that, a devotee, he's by the Lord gives the intelligence how to adjust things. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Tesham satata yuktanam, to those who are engaged in my service constantly. Satata yuktanam. Satata means constantly. Tatatam kirtayanto mam. Krishna is saying constantly engage in chanting my holy names. Constantly. So if somebody is, you can only be engaged constantly if you're very, very serious, very determined. Otherwise, you cannot be. Otherwise, it will be simply like some, you know, uh, some time pass activity just for the sake of it. Some here and there, I will do some rounds, I will do some chanting. That is not satata yuktanam. Persons who are very serious, very determined. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. Bhajatam priti purvakam. Those who engage in my bhajana, that means those who engage in my devotion service. How do they engage in devotion service? Oh, somehow I have to do this service. What a headache. No, 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 no. Not like this. Preeti Purvakam, with love, with affection. Oh, this is Krishna's service. I must do it very nicely. I have to chant holy names. Let me chant very nicely. There are some tips, advices available how to do soulful japa, mindful japa. Let me practice, let me implement, let me make effort to improve. Yes, Preeti Purvakam. You're putting effort. Now I'm cooking for the Lord. I must cook. I'm cooking for Krishna. I should cook very nicely. Krishna should be very happy. Krishna should be pleased with me. The salt should be nice, the spices should be nice, it should not be too cooked, it should not be too raw. So I will be very attentive because it is Krishna's service. And if there is love, then you will pay attention to great detail. You'll be very careful not to commit any offense. So bhajatam preeti purvakam. And when a devotee is in this consciousness, very serious in discharging his duties towards Krishna, so Krishna is saying, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. I shall give him the intelligence by which he can come to me very quickly. Tadami buddhi yogam. Krishna will give that devotee intelligence. Just like the other day I was reading. Bhima was having a duel with Jarasandha. Both of them were equally matched. And both of them had a strength of 10,000 elephants. One side Bhima, one side Jarasandha. They fought for 27 days in Magadha. And because they were equally matched, none of them could emerge victorious. And Bhimasena went to Krishna and told him, my dear Krishna, I must admit, I cannot defeat this person. He is equal to me in strength, he is equal to me in skill. Then Krishna gave him an advice. He told him, by taking a piece of straw and he tore it into half and kept it this side. So he said, he gave him a background of Jarasandha's weakness. He was born joined by two halves. Likewise, you separate him into two halves and keep them on either side. And that way you can attain victory. Krishna gave him the hint. Krishna gave him intelligence how to defeat the enemy, because he was strenuously working hard to fulfill Krishna's order. So Krishna gave him intelligence and he followed, and Bhimasena, he emerged victorious in that battle. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was able to perform the Rajasuya Yajna, and everything was so glorious. So like that, time and time again, when a devotee is in trouble, in challenge, he doesn't know what has to be done. Because he is surrendered to Krishna, he is dependent on Krishna. Krishna will give you intelligence. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite, and by which you can very easily cross over all your obstacles in material life, in spiritual life, and quickly come to him. This is Krishna's promise to those who are sincerely and seriously engaged in his devotion service. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely, Prabhuji. Thank you. So, Prabhuji, I do have other two questions. I'll wait for this. Yeah.
Yes, did I hear somebody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving this such a wonderful insight. And I think listening these kind of things makes one understand that, yes, we all are actors in this life, and then we have to do our role dutifully and then act upon that. But I think sometimes in the Isha and Maya and Mo and everything, we forget. And that is the constant reminder we need to do ourselves, which is difficult. But one try, I think, maybe in this lifetime, maybe one be able to come over those things. But I think only by listening and being with the Sadhu Santa, the illusion get lesser.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's a very wonderful observation, that although we may get carried away because we keep company of people who are practicing the same path, and maybe well situated in the practice, being in their association, we can draw inspiration, we can draw support. And sometimes when we get distracted, but being in the association, and today's Vaishnava Bhajan was all about Bhaktivinoda Thakur is praying that, please let me always remain in the association of Vaishnava. He's begging that I may never lose the opportunity of being in the association of Vaishnava. So wonderful observations, and thank you very much for sharing. Anybody else would like to any questions, any comments? All right.
Prabhuji?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah. Prabhuji, I do have one small question around one of the Mahabharata Katha. Like, I mean, it's about the incident when Abhimanyu was killed. I think Arjuna, I think as per my understanding, Arjuna lamented, right? I mean, despite having the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, having Krishna next to him, even then he had to lament. That is what I know. I mean, is that correct or wrong? I'm not sure. That is one thing. And then the second question that I have is, like, I mean, there is another incident where Krishna had to pick up the weapon against Bhishma. Right. I mean, is it because Arjuna was not able to give 100% the war? That's the reason Krishna had to pick up the weapon, or is it because of something else?
Yeah. So Arjuna showing lamentation. Yes, those were in the heat of that moment. Battle is going on. So momentarily there were such emotions that were demonstrated. But we must understand that Arjuna is an eternal associate of the Lord. and he was put into a situation where he appeared to be ignorant of what his duty should be, and he was in a state of bewilderment. So that, and all of this was Krishna's arrangement by his Yoga Maya, that Arjuna can never be in ignorance because he's an eternal associate of the Lord. But in order to share this message of Bhagavad Gita with you and me, Krishna chose Arjuna to play the part of an ignorant person. And so that through him, Krishna could speak and he could share the wisdom with all of us. And on Bhishma, yes, on Bhishma's incidents, Krishna's lifting the weapon has got many has many lessons for us to note. One of them is Krishna's statement that he says, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. So he's making a statement that, my dear Arjuna, you make a declaration that my devotee shall never perish. So Krishna is to uphold his devotees' words. He will do anything. He can even go back on his own words, but to uphold his devotees' words, he will do. He will go to any length and breadth, which is why Arjuna addresses him. Ratham sthapayame achyuta. Achyuta means, oh, infallible. Krishna is infallible in his affection towards his devotees, which is why he's also known as Bhakta Vatsalaha. He's very affectionate to his devotees, and he will ensure that if my devotees have given a word, and that should never be frustrated. So even if it means that Krishna has to go back on his own words, but his devotees who have surrendered to him, who have given up their life to him, who are constantly engaged in bhajatam priti purvakam, who are engaged in his loving service, Krishna makes sure that their words should never be let down. So although Krishna had taken a vow that he will not lift a weapon, he was willing to go back on his word just to uphold the words of just to protect Arjuna, because he was in a very dangerous condition. He was almost getting defeated by Bhishma, and so to save Arjuna, Krishna was willing to break his own promise. So that is one lesson that we can see from this pastime of Krishna lifting the chariot wheel and attacking Bhishma. So
did Krishna had to enlighten Arjuna for the second time after Abhimanyu's death?
No, I mean, there was no separate conversation like the Gita, but throughout the battle, Krishna was constantly giving guidance. Krishna was giving advice and telling them what to do, what next. And he was with the Pandavas throughout, guiding them, being with them, supporting them. Although he was not fighting and although he was not lifting any weapon, but because he was constantly with the Pandavas, they had all his guidance and they had all his empowerment throughout the whole battle. So in case of Abhimanyu, Arjuna had vowed that Jayadratha will be next day. He took a vow that Jayadratha will kill Jayadratha, or if he doesn't kill Jayadratha, then he will throw himself into the fire. He had taken a vow, and to fulfill that vow, Krishna enacted a miracle he caused, it's a long story, but in short, he brought upon a solar eclipse so that the enemies would be off their guard, and immediately he had taking advantage of the situation, he charged, took the chariot towards Jayadratha, and Arjuna was able to fulfill his vow. So Krishna, for the sake of fulfilling his devotees' words, he will move heaven and earth for making his devotees' words come true. So we can see again in this pastime, Krishna giving intelligence, Krishna arranging mystically circumstances for the benefit of his devotee. So that's why it is said, Mare Krishna Rakhe Ke, Rakhe Krishna Mare Ke. Which means if Krishna has decided to kill somebody, nobody can save them. Mare Rakhe Krishna Mare Ke. If Krishna has decided to protect somebody, nobody can kill them. So a devotee has full confidence in this. That if Krishna wants to protect me, nothing can harm me. And if Krishna has decided that this should happen, then nothing can stop that. So whatever is Krishna's will, let that happen. I simply want to conduct myself as per Krishna's will. So, does that help you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Just
Thank you, everyone.
okay. Just
Did I hear somebody? I hope that was not. Thank you very much for joining. We'll meet again next week during the same time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Haribol, Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.